When my daughter was getting married, I kept the most important thing to myself. My late husband hadn't left me beach villas or a flashy empire, but something quieter and very real, a fortress made of paperwork and beams, a small network of income houses and restored cottages across the coastal blocks of Savannah, Georgia. 347 pages of trust documents, centered on my name. I said nothing. And only a week after the wedding, when my new son-in-law walked into my kitchen with an attorney in tow, sure he could wring a signature out of me, I understood why silence had been the wisest answer of all. My name is Mariel Gale. I'm 67. I once taught third graders to read their first sentences and count the apples on a page. Patience is my old habit. Dignity is my compass. I live in an old duplex on Barnard Street, under live oaks draped with Spanish moss. My husband, Nolan, spent his life building, not a resume, but walls, roofs, and load-bearing frames. He believed true strength is what endures wind and salt. When he passed, he left me less money than structure, paper that clicks into place like a well-tuned clock. And one sentence he repeated in a still room near the end: don't sign anything until you know exactly what it is and why. My daughter Clara's reception took place at the DeSoto, crystal chandeliers pouring light like someone had tipped a glass of gold dust. Laughter was louder than music. Photographers chased their softboxes like nets for butterflies. They sat me at table 18, near the service door, behind a column of giant hydrangeas. I smiled, clapped, lifted my glass when required. Inside, something slid, a pencil mark more than a wound. This is where they want me in her new life, on the edge of the frame. I stayed quiet. I didn't mention the slim black file tucked in the hall closet safe, embossed with Chatham County seals, that every address lands on me, that Nolan drafted the trust so no hasty signature could pop a back door. I held my tongue, and heard more than I would have if I'd rushed to explain. Exactly a week after the wedding, there was a knock. Trevor, my new son-in-law, stood on the porch in a crisp shirt with a showroom smile, straight but empty. Beside him, a man with a dark briefcase, an attorney from a firm I'd never heard of. Mrs. Gale, Trevor began, honeyed, we came to help. Paperwork, little details, safety. Clara worries about you being on your own. This is a simple power of attorney, just a formality. He set a folder on my table that still smelled of toner. Big type on the cover, General Durable Power of Attorney. The spoon in my cup tapped the porcelain, a small bell of alarm for me. I slid the folder back. All documents go through my attorney, I said. Mr. Ruiz handles my affairs. Please schedule with him. That's not necessary, Trevor murmured. We're family. The word family arrived like a picklock. I didn't open. They left, reluctant. My house filled with the kind of quiet that lets you hear paint drying on the window sash. I lifted the brass key from its hook, my safe key, and set it on the table. It weighed just enough to remind me, content matters more than gesture. Later that day my neighbor tapped our shared rhythm, 3, pause, 2. Mabel Jennings, the widow 2 yards over, short hair, shorter sentences, the step of a seasoned nurse, came in with a warm casserole. She eyed the folder. Somebody brought you a one-way door, she asked, even. Trevor. With a lawyer. Then, Mabel said, wear your quiet like armor, not chains. And call that Ruiz. I'll sit right here while you dial. I called. Daniel Ruiz, calm voice, a little sand in it. I'd been expecting this, he said. Nolan warned me the day would come. I'll be there within the hour. He arrived without theater, scuffed briefcase, rumpled tie, careful eyes. He flipped through Trevor's folder, those few pages someone had named a formality, though they unlocked everything. This isn't a formality, Ruiz said. It's demolition. We'll do the opposite. Re-recordings. Credit freezes. Voice passwords. A healthcare directive naming the person you choose. And the threshold rule, no decisions at the door. Only at the table. Only after tea. Only with counsel. He laid out papers like bricks into a wall. Each of my signatures landed with the soft thud of a notary's stamp, and with every thud my breathing evened. While we worked, Ruiz explained, Nolan's trust isn't a treasure chest, it's a fortress. Not a bag of cash, a system of valves and latches. He loved structure, I said. And you, Ruiz replied. It's in every seam of his paperwork. That evening I went for groceries. In the parking lot at Publix I heard a familiar voice. Trevor, on the phone, no sugar now, only edge. Yes, Mom, he said. Without her signature we're stuck. If we convince her, sell 2 properties fast, plug the debt. Otherwise, game over. I stood in the oak's shade. The brass key pressed through my cardigan like a cool warning. Clarity arrived, there was no care in his request, only calculus. I said nothing and drove home with milk and bread. Silence spoke for me. That night a visitor came, no flesh, just memory. Nolan on scaffolding near Telfair Square, flannel stuck to his back, hands full of resin and sawdust, a smile wide enough to stop gulls mid-flight. A wall must withstand what's inevitable, he'd say. Wind. Salt. Time. I sat at the table and wrote myself 3 lines on a slip of cream paper. I love my daughter. I won't sign. I'm still here. I pinned it beside our family photo. No slogan, an anchor. Next day Mabel led me to the fellowship hall at St. Paul's. Sweet coffee and powdered sugar on the air. 3 women at a round table, Gloria, Peg, and Rose. They didn't speak fancy, only true. Gloria, blue scarf, said, my eldest came with formalities. I said no. He stayed away 6 months. Then he brought pie. No, didn't kill love. Peg, tiny diamond in her ear, added, when bouquets arrive with a notary, they're not bouquets. Rose clicked her pen, lists save memory. Freeze your credit. Put a card on your door, no documents accepted without counsel. Drafts 48 hours in advance. Keep a call log, date, time, exact words. I wrote down every item. Their notes read like a navigation chart, not about the storm but the course. Meanwhile Trevor and Clara kept worrying. First a text, we'll bring a notary Friday. 2 minutes. I answered 1 line, please coordinate everything through Daniel Ruiz. Then hard tires on my gravel. A hammer knock on wood. I stood just inside, my back feeling the shield of the door. Open up, Trevor demanded. You don't understand how the world works. You'll drown in paperwork. I'm not drowning, I said. I can read. This conversation is over. The door held. So did I. Clara came at dusk, alone. Eyes swollen, voice frayed. Why won't you trust us? She whispered, clutching her bag. We just want to help. I laid my palm on a warm cup. I do trust you, I said. Enough to say no where yes would destroy us both. Trust isn't the same as a signature. A boundary keeps love alive. She cried. She said she didn't know what to do about her husband or my stubbornness. I let the silence do its work, time for truth to settle. I need time, she finally said. You have it, I answered. While Ruiz and I tightened every latch, re-recorded deeds, set voice passwords, enforced the no decisions at the door rule, the outside world tried other seams. Ruiz called. Trevor just attempted a mailing address change on one of the accounts. Bank system rejected it. Our catches triggered. I pinned more green return slips to the cork board, each a tiny beacon along a shore. On Sunday after service we sat at that round table again. Rose slid a 1-pager across, practicalities, freezes at Equifax/TransUnion/Experian, certified letters, bank policy, in person only, the threshold rule, call logs. Peg tapped the tabletop with her ring. Show your daughter that a boundary isn't refusing help. It's the difference between help and control. Gloria smiled, saying no isn't against them. It's how you keep hold of yourself, so you can say a better yes later. Clara returned, this time without tire drama, without hurry. She brought lemons and ginger. For tea when sleep has sharp edges, she said with a shy smile, and sat on the lower step while I took the upper. Between us, a half-yard of air that smelled like the roses from my yard. I told Trevor everything goes through Ruiz, she said. He's angry. Says I chose you over our future. I said I chose my mother over a plan with holes. And yes, I keep repeating your line, trust isn't a signature. It sticks. I nodded. Nothing else would have fit the moment. She wasn't asking advice, only time. That was honest. Then Trevor texted again, 3 words, we'll be back. I put my phone face down. Under my palm, the brass key. Along my kitchen wall, green receipts glowed in neat ranks. I stood before them as if before a new coastal map, lines, marks, lights. The storm returned at week's end, but in different form. Not a fist on the door, paper. A petition to discuss guardianship in the interest of safety. Someone tried to make me fragile. Ruiz drafted a reply, cool and spare. My cork board gained more green cards, my kitchen, a new habit, writing down exact words whenever anyone said, for your own safety. The county hearing room smelled of polish and files. On one side, Trevor with a young attorney, and Clara looking wrung out. On the other, me, Ruiz, and a bright folder that showed what their care actually was, audio snippets of Trevor's calls with banks, blocked requests to change a beneficiary, messages where formality turned to plunder. The judge, a woman with a straight posture and clear eyes, listened without rushing. We played just enough audio. Without Helen's signature, Trevor's parking lot voice rang through the speakers, we're finished. Petition denied, the judge said. And I'm referring this for review concerning potential financial pressure toward an older adult. Ms. Gale, your actions are consistent. Your boundary is lawful. You are competent. I didn't celebrate. I just breathed even. On the courthouse steps the air felt cleaner than at dawn. I touched the brass key in my pocket. It was warm. News travels fast in Savannah, same as any port town. At Kroger, near the checkout, I started receiving the "we worried about you" smiles. A neighbor brought a pie and said sorry. I didn't collect apologies like stamps. I collected small tasks, fixing the bottom stair, replacing a window gasket, hanging a new latch on the gate. Fortresses don't need fanfare, they need upkeep. I drove to Savannah Technical College. Nolan loved trades and students who show up for dawn's shift with coffee and the willingness to listen. I set up a scholarship in his name, modest grants for first-generation builders earning their first level, not funding someone else's big day. A plaque appeared on the wall a month later, every wall needs a hand. I put my fingers on the metal. Not for show, for memory. The hardest evening came when Clara returned empty-handed, no bag, no anger, only a tremor you can't disguise. I don't know what will happen with Trevor and me, she said, soft. But I know you're not my wallet. I was hard on you, not out of hate. Out of fear. You don't have to forgive me tonight. Just, keep the porch light on for me. Light isn't a verdict, I said. It's a direction. It's on. She set the lemons and ginger on the table. There is always tea for a talk. Trevor didn't quit in a day. But the world learned to speak to him in procedure, passwords at banks, codes at bureaus. Every move triggered a bell. In the end, what people call a family matter turns into civil process with paragraphs you can't out-argue. I didn't cheer his losses. I was grateful for my composure, the kind that lets you speak without shouting. Mabel sat at my table, peeling apples, dropping short wisdoms. People love the word peace, she said. And they often confuse it with silence bought by a signature. Peace is different. It's when your cup sits where you set it. And your door opens exactly as far as you choose. I taped a card to the inside of my door, block letters neat, no documents accepted without counsel. Drafts 48 hours prior. Decisions at the table after tea. From then on, conversations got shorter and truer. When someone tried to swap family for possession, I looked at the card and remembered my door isn't a courtroom for somebody else's rhetoric. One early evening, with the kitchen lights soft and the yard's shadows long, I took another sheet of cream paper and wrote a little more than 3 lines. Boundaries don't reduce love, I printed slowly. They reduce the space for misuse. My no isn't against you. It's a yes to myself, and to what he built for me. I folded the note and set it in the drawer with the other unsent letters to Nolan. I don't believe the departed read mail. I do believe the living sometimes need to write what they aren't ready to say. I brewed tea. Set out 2 cups. One for me. One for what we're repairing, memory, trust, the habit of seeing grown children as the same small ones who once clutched our fingers. I left the porch light on. The door, propped slightly open. That's my favorite compromise, neither come one, come all, nor no one enters. Ajar door. It has an honest edge, you can see who's there and decide if it's time. A few weeks later, Clara and I walked into Ruiz's office together to pick up certified copies. She held the folder's edge like it was a new language to learn. The seals looked like tiny scars, healed decisions. I wish I'd heard about this sooner, she said, unsure. Not every truth shouts, I answered. But when it clicks into place, you recognize it. Outside, she pointed at the firm's modest plaque. Ruiz has a simple sign, she said. No gold leaf. Real work doesn't need gold leaf, I said. It needs bolts. She smiled, for the first time since the wedding, in a way that let me see my child again, not just someone's wife. I used to think a boundary was a wall. Now I know it's a tied line. It moves, but it doesn't yield. Somewhere between, I love my daughter, and I won't sign, lies the whole meaning of my life. Nothing loud, nothing for television. Workmanlike. When someone tells you peace always requires your signature on their formality, remember, sometimes peace is the card on your door. Sometimes it's a neighbor with a casserole and hard words. Sometimes it's an attorney with a scuffed briefcase who builds walls out of statutes. Sometimes it's the whisper of paper under a notary's stamp that roars louder than any argument. And sometimes it's the roses under your window, storm-bent, then upright again. My story doesn't end with a gavel or a grand reconciliation under strings and horns. It ends with a kitchen where 2 cups of tea sit on the table, the porch light is on, and the door is open just a crack. I take the brass key and set it on the table, not in my pocket, not under a towel. It no longer needs to press on me. It just needs to be. I love my daughter. I didn't sign. I'm still here. And you? If you're standing on your own threshold, between the handle and your name, ask yourself, what keeps your dignity whole? You're allowed to say, please speak with my attorney. You're allowed to ask for a 48-hour draft. You're allowed to pause. And you're allowed to choose the boundary that lets love breathe. The light on my porch is on. If you care to, tell me where your tied line sits and what your brass key is. Here in Savannah, we say the river ebbs and returns. A good river walk isn't the one without water, it's the one where water doesn't take the land. My shore stands. And so do I. Was it helpful to rest in this quiet harbor for a while? Leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next evening stories. Turn on the bell, new tales will arrive exactly when they're needed most. Good night, and may your shore stay calm.